Hey, what's going on, guys? Talking a little bit about Scream 7 today. And I just can't get behind the idea that there's not enough marketing behind this movie and somehow that's going to impact the box office of it. I don't think a lot of people understand that Scream 6, even though it went to New York, had some pretty fun marketing behind it. Like it literally almost outsold Scream 1 and 2. I think those are, without a doubt, the two greatest of the franchise. I love all the movies, but that's when Scream was at its absolute just most hype. I feel like there was a little bit of a stigma around after 3, and Scary Movie kind of parodized it in a way that a lot of people didn't take it serious. So Scream 4 did flop. I don't think that's ever going to happen again, guys. At that point, people weren't really craving slasher characters the way they are now, or obviously back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I just feel Ghostface really scratches that itch that we all enjoy. Like when you go see a Terrifier movie now, we don't get to see the big three anymore. Obviously, Michael Myers makes his return once every like 10 years, and we're always grateful for that. But with Jason and Freddy out of the equation, I feel like Ghostface steps in that role perfectly, along with Art the Clown. So the idea that people aren't going to go see this movie is just wacky to me. They're so confident in this movie, Paramount is, that they're putting it on during the Super Bowl. People are going to see the trailer. I don't know if we're going to get a longer one that maybe they'll put it online. I would enjoy that, but I don't need another trailer. I've seen all the billboards around, I think it's Los Angeles, probably some other big places. I live in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not seeing any Scream benches around my area. But I know I'll be there. You guys are going to be there. Anybody who loves a good slasher film is going to be there. If you went to go see Hard Eyes last year, you're going to be there. Anybody who enjoys just Kevin Williamson's meta writing, you have to go. We all are just clamoring at the idea of what the hell they're going to do with Stu Macher. Is he alive? Is he not? Even if you're not into that, Neve Campbell stepping back as the final girl that we all love. I think she's the greatest of all time in that role. Obviously, Melissa Barrera and Ortega started a little bit of an uproar when they left. I don't agree with the reason as they were made, why they were forced to leave, really. I know Ortega stepped away on her own, and they said it was scheduling. It was obviously bullshit. I enjoyed Jenna Ortega and her role a lot as Tara, but Sam just never really did it for me as our final girl. She felt a little bit forced to me, never was much just on the idea of her being Billy's daughter, and she was traumatized and went away and kind of did all these drugs. It just felt like any of us as Scream fans could have wrote that in like 5 minutes, and it gave us that link to the original film. Never bought that. The stuff with Tara, I thought she was great. She was a lot more organic as a character. She was into like the newer, elevated horror. That made for a really funny call in the beginning of 5. In 6, she progresses in a way that I just thought maybe they could have reversed those roles. Maybe, Ortega was always going to be too busy to maybe be your final girl and your main character. I just don't see those two actors' fan bases having enough of a chunk out of the box office for Scream 7 to actually fail. No, a lot of them are angry. I just think you guys need to calm down. It's a movie. Studios get upset about random shit. It's one of the biggest studios in the world. It's Paramount. What are you going to do? Moving on, just whatever capacity Roman and Dewey are coming back, I'm sure it'll probably be AI just to talk on the phone, or maybe some videos that they kind of deep fake. I don't know what that's going to be. We know they're dead, unfortunately. I really wish Dewey wasn't dead. If there's some way they ride him back to where he's alive, I'm not going to be angry. I'll question a little bit, like I'm sure you guys will, even if Stu comes back. I think Stu has the availability to come back easily because they've hinted at it multiple times. He didn't take that bullet that Ghostfaces usually need to take. And him being the face of the franchise at this point, whether he comes back in a way that satisfies me or you, it puts asses in seats, and you can't tell me that that's not going to get every Matthew Lillard fan in this theater. Because if you love Matthew Lillard, it's either from Scream or Scooby-Doo, most likely. I love him from both. I learned who he was in Scooby-Doo originally, but I know most of you who are a little bit older than me saw him in that original Scream, and he totally steals the show. So the idea of him being in here in any capacity is completely going to just make people freak out. And they're going to be there regardless of the situation. And I'm sure you guys have seen that new poster with Sydney's face on the front, kind of in a manner that the original is with Drew Barrymore, except she doesn't have the red lips, of course. I thought that would have standed out a little more. Maybe Sydney didn't feel like wearing any lipstick. It's a little 2000s, I guess. But you see Matthew Lillard's name down there beside of Courtney Cox on the right, and it just makes you think, like, how much screen time is he getting? Because you don't see David Arquette's name, and you don't see Scott Foley down there. So is he going to play a fairly prominent role in this? It seems too obvious that he would be the insane asylum patient. But it's possible. I don't know what's going to be going on there, but he's either going to play a bit of a Hannibal Lecter role. I'm really hoping that he is the killer in some way or form, or he's, it's the cult thing from 3 it was originally going to be. Whatever they do, I hope he gets away in this movie. I don't feel like you bring him back just to kill him. Let him get away, and just the Scream 8, the entire marketing, you could let us know that it's Matthew Lillard and perhaps other Ghostfaces he's recruited, and he's the big domino you got to knock down for all of this to stop. And I don't ever want this franchise to end, but I feel like if it does end, that would be the perfect ending. Whether they're going to make Screams until they quit making money, but that would be a pretty damn good conclusion to our legacy characters' stories, and maybe from that point on, they could move on with an entirely new cast. Maybe keep Chad and Mindy if they keep sticking around, regardless of how many times they get stabbed. But what do you guys think about this? I just wanted to hop on here and ramble a little bit because I don't see any way that this movie flops. We're going to get Scream 8 in probably 2 years, and whatever happens in this movie will hopefully lead into that movie, because I don't feel like anybody is walking into Scream 7 thinking we're going to get that copy and paste method of kind of the Scooby-Doo story. You get the reveal. It's in every Scream movie. In Scream 4, the one that flopped the hardest, I don't think it would have flopped so hard if they had just had the balls to actually pull that punch that, Jill doesn't get caught and she moves into Scream 5, and they go with that original script of the killer knowing that Jill was the killer in Scream 4. We really need a twist, and I think they're going to give it to us, guys. At least that's really how they're marketing it. I think you'd be a fool not to go see this movie if you love Ghostface. He is a Mount Rushmore killer. Doesn't matter who's in his movies. I go see these movies because of Ghostface. I love all the iconic dialogue, the great characters. I think this is the greatest casted original Scream of all time, and it moves on to having the greatest legacy characters of all time. I love David Arquette, even though he's passed away in the movie. Gail kicks ass, even though she always falls into that trope of everyone hating her after she, writes some story about the former killings. And, of course, Sidney Prescott is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the greatest and most interesting final girl of all time. She just never is presented as a coward, and the fact that she's going to be in this movie just ultimately sells it for me as that final girl. Like I said, wasn't huge into Melissa Barrera, but I went to those movies and enjoyed the fuck out of them. Fun fact about me, I actually didn't really love Scream until Scream 6. I always enjoyed those movies a little bit, loosely, but I saw Scream 6 in theater, and it really rejuvenated horror for me. And I watched all the movies after that in total succession, knowing a little bit about each movie. Fucking love the whole franchise, guys, and I don't think there's any way they do us wrong. Let me know what you think about this, and do you think that Scream 7 is going to be a box office flop or a box office hit? Take it easy, guys.